Welcome, Dancing with the Stars fans. I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Joyce Eng, Jeffrey Kare, and Cordell Martin to discuss Week 3 movie night. But we didn't get a chance to discuss Week 2 last week, so we'll talk a little bit about that too. But first off, let's start with the big news of this week's show. Ray Lewis, NFL star, had to withdraw due to old tendon injuries that were acting up again. His doctors did not advise him to continue on the show, which makes this the second time in 3 weeks of competition that someone has withdrawn, from injury, following Christy Brinkley, who had to drop out before the show even started and was replaced by her daughter, Sailor Brinkley Cook. So is there some kind of phantom of the ballroom causing disasters for everyone on the show? Is it Sean Spicer? What do you think, Cordell?
Oh, God, you would start with me first. Yeah, I just think it's very odd that, these contestants are dropping like flies, except for the one contestant I really want to drop out. I think with Ray Lewis, I think with him, it wasn't like he was going to make a dent in the competition or really go far. So I think for him, it was just kind of like, all right, I'm injured. I don't really care too much, for the competition. I'll just bow out and not injure myself. Yeah, so I mean, it's unfortunate, but, you got to take care of your health too. And it's not like he's 20-something years old or in his prime. So,
yeah.
And it's interesting because he finished in the bottom two in the first eliminations, and the judges decided to send home Mary Wilson instead. So if he hadn't withdrawn, I mean, there's a reasonable chance he would have been eliminated anyway. Unless he ended up in like the bottom two with Lamar Odom, and they probably would have sent home Lamar. So what do you think would have happened had this withdrawal not happened, Joyce?
I mean, I don't know, because he needs to be in the bottom two first. So his fans could have rallied this week if he did reasonably well with his cha-cha. But if he were in there, depending on I think he would stay if he were up against Lamar and Sean. And if it was like him and Kel, I can see them keeping Kel because I think Kel has more potential. Mm-hmm. I mean, it does suck for Mary that she was booted last week and then the person she was up against just left this week because he needs surgery on his toe. It's like in sports, like when you have like a really tough battle against someone and you lose, and then your opponent who beat you withdraws the next round. But you can't come back. So yeah, I mean, I don't think Ray was too long for this season. He wasn't, one of the football players who, were hot out of the gate. But he was, he probably could have lasted a couple more weeks. So I'm not really mournful over his self-elimination, but I do feel for Mary. So.
Yeah, I think Mary, it's really because we did a poll at Gold Derby who would be, or who, did Mary deserve to be eliminated that week? Only 13% of our readers thought that she should have been eliminated. And if she hadn't been eliminated, we would have avoided this whole mess. Although it's possible that Mary Wilson would have landed in the bottom two again. But to be fair, if she had landed in the bottom two with Lamar Odom, they would have kept her around. So
yeah,
this whole season could have changed a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of a few seasons ago. I think it was Alexa Penavega who was eliminated right before Tamar Braxton had to withdraw due to illness. Yep. And it was just you couldn't have withdrawn the week before, if you were starting to feel sick, and let Alexa stick around because she had so much potential to go far had she not been surprisingly eliminated. What do you think would have happened, Jeffrey, in this alternate reality where Ray didn't injure himself?
Well, I agree with everything that's been said, that he probably wouldn't have made it that far anyway. I mean, it's probably This probably is a good that he had to withdraw when he did, because who knows? Honestly, he needs to take care of himself, and honestly, his son wasn't able to take over for him. Yeah, but I will say, Ray's and Cheryl's routine last week was not great, but I thought was a step up from the week before. So, I don't think they would have made it far had they stayed, but I guess now we'll never know.
Yeah, and instead of seeing Ray perform the cha-cha he was scheduled for this week, we got a special guest star, Rashad Jennings, sort of performing a little exhibition, which was a sweet moment. But I'm like 99% sure that decision was mostly because they had the show scheduled out, and losing an entire performance, they didn't have enough to fill the gap, so they're like, let's have someone else dance this routine. We need the segments.
Apparently, they just she rehearsed it because that was the routine they were supposed to do, and she rehearsed it with him the day before. So that was really good for less than 24 hours of rehearsals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, even though there was no elimination at the end of the night because Ray Lewis withdrew from the competition, they kept stringing us along a bit. It's like, we're going to announce the bottom two, and then what'll happen? So they didn't end up eliminating anyone, but we did get the bottom two for this week, and it ended up being Kel Mitchell and Lamar Odom. And it's really hard to see how the bottom two affects voting because of last week's bottom two. Mary was eliminated and Ray Lewis withdrew. So we don't know if being in the bottom two yet can spur your fans to kind of vote for you and save you. So it'll be interesting to see if Kel and Lamar will stay that low next week, or if their fans, they'll have enough fans who have got enough of a scare to kind of push them back up into the top 8 of the competition. What do you think, Cordell?
Yeah, I agree. I think this bottom two will probably help Kel more than Lamar. I think Lamar, in terms of just the scores, I don't see him, going past 16 or higher than that. I think he's gonna, kind of stay in between that 13 and 15 point range, which is unfortunate, but I just don't see him lasting too long. With Kel, I hope that the fans do rally behind him. I think that he's one of those stars that could definitely have that growth arc that a lot of fans love to see. But he just got to have that memorable dance because, the women are killing it this season. James is killing it. And then Sean Spicer, who's just that controversial figure. So, and with the judges, giving him those low scores, it's helping him in his case in terms of getting that fan support. So,
what do you think? Do you think they'll land in the bottom two again next week, Joyce?
I think this was a wake-up call for any Kel supporter, any, Nickelodeon, all that fan from back in the day, or any new fan just from the past 3 weeks, because he got a 20, so he had 8 points on Lamar. Yeah. So, I don't know what the spread was between Kel and whoever was ahead of him. Maybe it was Sean. I don't know. But I do think it was a wake-up call because he hasn't put in a terrible performance at all this whole time. So I do think being in the bottom two this week for him helps him going forward because then people know they need to vote for him because Sean was the second person declared safe. With Lamar, I think he has the fans. They brought out Kobe this week to help him. But if the, like Cordell said, if the numbers aren't there for him, it eventually he's just not going to be able to make up the spread no matter how many votes he gets. And I do feel he should have gotten at least 1-5 this week. That was just really harsh. And like, if you can give Sean Spicer a 15, you can give Lamar at least the 13. So
Sean Spicer did not have a single moment during, like, let's forget the
they were both like
controversy around
equally
him.
bad.
Yeah, Sean Spicer was not on beat for a single moment.
Exactly.
He was pigeon-toed. It was just a lot of stomping, and then like they have the group behind them, so that took away some of the attention from him. And like Lamar was better this week, and he just messed up like at the end with like the 2 8 counts. But he I don't think he'll ever. I mean, like Sean does look like he's actually enjoying himself more than Lamar does, but Lamar was better this week, and it was fun seeing him like jump on the couch and like for most of that routine, it was good. And I think Peta has been really good with him. Like she's really patient and she's choreographing to his strengths or lack thereof. But yeah, like they could have given him at least 1-5.
Yeah. Do you think Lamar and Kel will both be in the bottom, Jeffrey, or will one of them, or neither of them?
Well, I think of the two, I think Lamar will a little more likely be in the bottom 2 next week because his routine this week, well, I guess a little more competence. And well, it looks like Peter was doing better work than him. Whereas with Carol, I really think he's starting to find his groove in the competition. So I definitely think he's got potential to improve, and I hope he does. Whereas Lamar, I think he's a little more likely to end up in the bottom 2 again.
Yeah, that's one thing I like. I think, the voting change where it's only live voting and no overnight voting, I think that's kind of dumb and pointless. I do like, though, the voting rule that the judges get to decide who to send home, even though I think they made a mistake by sending home Mary Wilson last week. It's a nice little kind of insurance policy so that, like, we're not going to get a Tinashe moment this early in the season where, like, if she were in the bottom 2, like, there's hardly anyone who would have been in the bottom 2 with her that they would have sent her home.
Yeah.
So in this case, I think that helps Kel especially because of all the dancers who are even remotely likely to be in the bottom 2, I think Kel is almost certain to be saved. They're not gonna get rid of him for Sean. They're not gonna get rid of him for Lamar. They're not going to get rid of him for Karamo, who I'm a little bit worried for because he keeps getting
Karamo's not doing it for me. Like,
thank you.
So the premiere, it's been like 2 more weeks, and like I think part of it is like Jenna is not a great teacher, and I don't know. There's just something like off with all of his dances.
Yes.
Like I want him to be good, but there's something like not connecting. Like once he like actually starts dancing.
Yeah, and I sort of agree too. I sort of want to see improvement for him because you can see when he's dancing that he's capable. He has rhythm. He has personality. He's got musicality, but you just don't see the technique there in the routines.
Yeah, like part of that I do think is Jenna. Like she lucked out so hard getting Adam for that stupid 4-week season. But and then like last year it was just the fans like carrying them. But I don't like if you compare like the routines like she choreographs for him to like what like Pasha does for Kate, which are amazing. And it really like suits the celebrity and what like they're capable of. There's just something, I don't know if she's just not like teaching him the basics or something. I don't know. I mean, the jive is hard, especially for a week 3 dance, but there's like his footwork was sloppy. Like he wasn't on time and I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of Kate Flannery, she like in week 2, she was really good. And then in week 3, she was even better. And not only that, she got the tied for the high score of the night with Allie Brooke, which at the moment after 3 weeks is the highest score of the season so far, straight 8s for a total of 24. I don't know if I'm predicting her to win, but I've put her in my top 3 just because I feel like she has that really fun personality that's going to draw fans. She's going to get the scores that are going to keep her safe for a while so that even if like she, she stumbles with like viewer votes one week, she's going to have a little bit of a buffer. And certainly if she lands in the bottom 2, the judges are almost definitely going to save her at this point. So I really think she's got something. And I think a lot of credit has to go to not only her, but Pasha, who is a brand freaking new pro on the show. who, I mean, he didn't get the ringer. Like, it's not like, like Brandon Armstrong with Tinashe last season. You think, oh, his work is done for him, or like Jenna Johnson with Adam Rippon in the athlete season, where the dancer the celeb pretty much teaches themselves. In this case, like, I think Pasha is like I wonder, like,
I'm like trying to think of like the last like male. Can you call them debutantes? I don't know. like a male pro who had such like a great debut season, like doing such great work, like not just as a choreographer, because that's easy, but like being a teacher too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Could it have been Derek?
Probably. I was like, it's probably Derek.
Yeah, maybe Derek or Tristan McManus. I think he had Nancy Gray.
I love Tristan. Oh my God. He got screwed.
Yes, numerous times.
Yeah, because we see the female pros, sometimes they do well early, like Whitney, I think, won in her second season, and Lindsay had only had a few seasons. So the women, Jenna, as we mentioned before, I think that was maybe her second or third season with Adam Rippon. But yeah, we don't see, like, the men, they almost, like, you gotta earn it. Like, they don't just hand, Alan Burston the ringers right away.
Well, especially like this like current crop of this like new gen of the pros, like Val is still like old gen, like, like all the other male pros right now, they're just kind of like like the female pros right now are better than the dudes.
Yeah, and the female pros, I feel like, are more patient with their celebrity partners. Like the men, for them, it's like, you need to be on point right now, or they'll force them to be really sexy. And I think with Kate, what I love and what's refreshing with her is for her to be a mature woman. She's not trying to follow behind Lauren and Hannah, and Allie. It's like, I'm gonna do me. I'm, 50 plus. I'm loving this moment, and you're just gonna love me for who I am. And I think the audience is really gravitating towards that, and that's really gonna help her advance way into the competition.
Yeah, and I think like it does help her that like her first three dances were kind of upbeat, and it fits her, comical personality. She has the Argentine tango next week, which I think she'll do well in too. But I think, it does help that she's kind of like the apple in the bag of oranges, because if you think about it, there's four like pretty girls in their 20s who are kind of like on the same level. Like they all dance pretty well. Like sometimes I have like dance blindness with them. I'm like, oh, was that like Allie or Lauren? Like I don't remember. So she stands out, and like she clearly has great rhythm and musicality. She can dance. Like she has the judges' support too. And she can break away from them, because I feel like those like young 20-somethings, one of them needs to have like a standout performance soon to keep pace. Because on the guy side, James, he has no competition for our guys. Like if he's not in the final three, just cancel the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like this season has been unusually competitive early on, and in the sense that we don't have a clear dominant performer, but every week we're seeing a new person step up. Mentioning James, really the only male celeb who's really stepped up. But then week 2, Hannah Brown had a breakthrough moment. Week 3, Allie, Brooke, and Kate both tied for the top of the leaderboard. So it's sort of like, I put James back at number 1 in my prediction, just because out of the first 3 weeks, it feels like he has been most consistently at or near the top every single time. But I keep this is the third week I've switched from someone. So what do you think, Jeffrey? Who are you predicting at this moment will win the show? Knowing that these are subject to change as the weeks continue.
Well, I'm sticking with James Vanderbeek for right now, because he's been the only one so far this season who's been consistently great. I mean, his routine with Emma last night was, I thought, just breathtaking. And so I'm sticking with him for the top spot right now. But as you said, I could totally see someone else breaking through, like Allie or Kate or even Lauren or Hannah.
Yeah, I think, especially as Joyce mentioned, the young 20-something women really need to break out, because I feel like, especially like Sailor and Lauren, like if give me 20 minutes after they've performed, I'll forget which was which.
That's me. I'm like, and then I'm like, wait, does she have Gleb or like Sasha?
And Gleb and Sasha are not like they're hardly twins, but like,
no. But it's because I think of the celebrity first. I'm like, wait, who is she with?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But even the pro, like they're hardly twins, but they're still similar enough that it's just like, wait, is that Gleb or Sasha?
Yeah, and then I'm like, hey, Lauren has Gleb, and then Allie has Sasha.
and then I keep forgetting. Yeah, and Allie has Sasha.
Allie has Sasha.
Yes.
Oh, see, I was just thinking Allie has Alan, but now I realize no, Alan has
Hannah because they're trying to still push the showmans.
And they even had him strip. They had to do the strip tease for the wedding.
It's like
party.
last year you made me kiss her on camera in front of horses, and now you make me strip.
This poor guy. Just let him not like he's a sweetout. He seems like, but he's not like a romantic lead who's gonna sell.
And like he clearly doesn't
romance.
want any part of this.
No.
Like he wasn't into it last year when they tried to do it.
It's the most awkward kiss in the history of reality television. Who are you predicting at the moment, Cordell?
Definitely just echoing everyone else. James, I think, is the one to beat. I feel like the producers are going to shove Hannah down our throats. I think she's a great dancer, but she's just missing something. Like her moves, like to Kare Ann's point yesterday, she's very like beauty pageant cheerleader, like look at me,
and like the smile too.
Yeah, like the rumba, that's one of those dances where you get to be vulnerable and show a different side. And for her, it wasn't that she didn't choose that opportunity to really show a different side. So I'm on the fence with her in terms of just the personality, but I think she's a great dancer. Allie is definitely coming into her own. I think with her having the storyline of not being the best dancer off of Fifth Harmony and really having the audience gravitate towards her story is going to help her in terms of getting that fan support. And then Kate is just that dark horse. I don't know if she could win, but if she continues on this upward swing, who knows? Because this season seems very unpredictable. So.
Yeah, Kate at the moment to me feels like your classic surprise finalist who gets like a really wonderful third place. You're just really thrilled for that result. So that's where I sort of imagine her falling. What do you think, Joyce?
Yeah, I still have James winning unless something else happens.
Oh God!
I feel like he is just super reliable, and I think he can excel at every dance. Because the thing is, it's not just like his dance ability. Like, yeah, he's good at all of these dances so far, but he knows how to sell it. Maybe it's because he's an actor, but I mean, even some, actors who've been on the show, like they can't really sell like certain dances or performances, especially like the rumba, but I thought he did a really good job with that. Like there's just something, there's this like confidence with him that's not really like arrogant. It's just kind of like below the surface. Like he knows what he's doing and he's like confident in his ability to do it, and he could just sell the routine and the whole mood of it. He should have tied for first with Allie, right? Yeah, Allie and Kate. Yeah. But I think like maybe like since they are being like harsher with the scores this season, I think they're trying to like not peg someone or label someone as like the immediate front runner, even though it's kind of clear like some certain people are pulling away from the pack. So maybe they are like doing a favor, like we're not gonna like bust out any nines or like have you like top the leaderboard 2 weeks in a row, or not in a row, but like 3 weeks yet. And I also think like now they're like the producers are being strategic with the running order because of live voting. Like now they're front loading the good dancers in the beginning of the show.
And ending with Sean Spicer.
Yeah.
Which honestly, the last spot used to be the pimp slot, but that could be a lot different this year because, as Tom mentioned, as Sean Spicer was getting his critiques, oh, by the way, voting closes at the next commercial break. So you really don't have, and I'm sure a lot of people who are voting for the show live, knowing the way this whole thing works, like they're going to vote for who they want to vote for, whether they've seen them perform yet or not. Yeah. So all the votes that he was going to get, and he was going to get him regardless of that cha-cha.
Mm-hmm.
So, and goodness knows that cha-cha wasn't going to win him more fans. And I also think that maybe, we talked about, how Lamar maybe deserved some 5s if Sean Spicer got some 5s. Part of me wonders if they're also being strategic with Sean.
Yeah,
scoring.
like they don't want him to be the lowest scoring one.
Yeah, they don't want to invite that kind of, they're just voting for him because they don't like him, and so like if you make his sort of whatever diehard fans he might have, not give them room to like hate vote, like vote for him to spite everybody else. They might be able to get rid of him sooner. So like I could see that as a tactic where it's like it's like, okay, if he's the second to the bottom or third from the bottom of the leaderboard, then we've got a little bit of cover. But at the same time, then if they're really trying to get rid of him on the show, like this is my Pizzagate conspiracy theory. If they really are trying to get rid of him and they give him slightly higher scores and he ends up in the bottom with like a Lamar Odom, then they really couldn't justify based on their scores keeping Lamar over Sean. So it's a double-edged sword there. You really have to hope he ends up in a bottom 2 with someone just no one can deny.
Because they would keep him over Lamar.
Yeah. But at this stage of the competition, after the first 3 weeks of dances, I don't see anyone else in the cast who they would keep him over if they landed on 2. Only Lamar right now, and I think Lamar's days might be numbered unless his fans really show up for him next week, and I'm kind of hoping they do. Although at the same time, if he's not in the bottom 2, and then Sean Spicer is once again not in the bottom 2, like happened in the first elimination, then we're going to lose someone who we really shouldn't lose. And it might be a Karamo, and it might be even Lauren Elena, even, who's like right now middle of the packish, even though she has like the country fan base, and or Sailor, who's getting really good scores, but she's not well known, and we haven't seen too much of her personality yet, though a little bit. So it's just a whole new kind of calculus trying to figure out what the judges are thinking going into their scores and into the
Well, next week it's like Leah Remini is guest judging, so it'll be out of 40. So I can't do quick math right now, so I don't know like how that will affect like the number of votes you need to overcome and make up the spread between the points.
Well, with a 4th judge, we can almost guarantee that it will be Lamar Odom's highest numerical score of the season.
Yeah,
unless he gets like all 2s, which would be the only way.
He can get a 16.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. For that high watermark of 16 out of 40. Well, with that, thanks to the 3 of you for joining me to talk about this week's episode, and thanks to everyone watching and listening. We will see you again next week to talk about who went home next. So we will see you then.